Hello, my name is Samuel Flores. I run the National Graduate School in Medical Bioinformatics, or MedBioinfo, and I will be the course coordinator for KB 7016, KB 7021 Bioinformatics. And today we're going to go over the course, the content and rules and grading and everything else. And then we'll start on the content, which is the first topic is biological databases. So the quizzes are to be completed during the after doing the required reading and watching the recorded lecture. They're due before the start of each discussion session. So this is a flipped classroom. So that means that that the discussion section is not really a lecture. It's something we do after we've done the readings and we want to get a deeper understanding and discuss on a higher level. So the readings, the videos, the Zoom links in the cases that there are slides available, and the name of the responsible lecturer or TA, any other information that's needed for that sort of session is in the discussion event in the calendar. Okay, so you go into Canvas, you look at your calendar, and if you want to know what needs to be done in advance of a certain session, all the information should be in there. And of course, you should let me know, actually probably let the person responsible know, the TA or the lecturer responsible for that session, know if there's any information missing or unclear. And you can CC me on that. Okay. So the idea is then to arrive at the interactive session already ready with questions. So this course is more about spending time daily on learning, and less time cramming before an exam. And so the quizzes are intended to or aligned with this goal. And so I don't recommend trying to game them, because usually quiz grades are anyway high, and trying just to work for high quiz grades won't help you when you get to the exam. So you should be getting 3 attempts to do each quiz. So let me know if any quiz has fewer than 3 attempts available. And the last attempt is the one that is to be graded. But sorry, let me, in the case that it's my lecture, let me know if the case is the lab. It's one of the labs. Let the TA responsible for the lab know that their quiz has a problem. So there are no quiz attempts after the deadline. So I am doing my lectures a little bit differently this year. So there's no PowerPoint except for today. It's just a sort of electronic whiteboard which I scribble out live using an animation package. I'm not sure it really makes sense for me to provide the slides, but the videos all have timestamps, so you can so you can click on them and skip straight to whatever topic you're interested in. Okay, and so one thing that I'd like to get out of this semester is just this one your opinion on this one technique, whether it's whether you found it helpful or not, or whether you prefer PowerPoints. So this is an overview of the topics. So these are very roughly divided into sequence analysis and in the first half, and then structure analysis in the second half. So where you see protein nucleic acid structure, that's where the structure part more or less starts. And as you can see, sorry, some of these lectures are a little bit out of date. But we have a couple of guest lectures that I'm very excited about: Karsten Daub and Gunnar von Heine. Okay, so there is a roll call. And so that means that at the first session, you'll be expected to show up. And most likely what we'll do is we'll have the TAs just looking at your name on the screen and checking you off. If we need to, we'll kind of try to confirm somehow. If you're not marked present, she'll may unenroll you. That's the usual procedure. And they'll let someone else take your place. So please make sure you are marked present. If you have a friend that's unexpectedly absent, please have them contact me. And if there's any problem with your name on Canvas, like if it's garbled or cryptic or looks like an email or number, try updating your profile on Canvas. If it's a big problem, then we might have to unenroll you and then invite you in again. And unenroll just from the Canvas, not actually unenroll you at Shoal. So just email me if you have any that sort of Canvas related issue. So in the lab, you won't be writing a traditional lab report. Our experience was that people were spending a lot of time writing the lab report, and that's something that's good to do once in the course, but you don't really learn anything after you're doing it two or three times or 17 times or whatever. So you instead you're going to just fill in the blanks in a sort of Canvas quiz. And fill in the blanks means actually more like there'll be multiple choice questions, there'll be some essay questions, some questions you might upload a screenshot, etc. But anyway, the point is that you'll be spending your time working on the lab, not writing a report. Some of the labs are going to use a server that you would log into, bioinfo1.scilabslab.se. You should all have accounts there by now. If you have any trouble, let me know. You should immediately change your password. That's the first thing you should do when you log on for the first time. Lab report quizzes can be solved at the earliest as soon as they're published, but they must be turned in at the latest the same day as the lab that is scheduled. So we usually set the due time at 1 minute to midnight of the day of the lab. So please have it in by then. Pre-lecture quizzes. Oh, sorry, this should be pre-discussion quizzes. So these are the quizzes that get turned in after you've done the readings and watched the lecture, but before the discussion section starts. So the teaching is in a flipped format. So it means that you're like I said, required to do the readings and lecture prior to showing up, and the pre-lecture quizzes or the discussion quizzes are intended to enforce the readings and the videos. But to some extent, they can help you sort of self-diagnose whether you more or less cover the material, but it's not really complete as a study guide. So don't make the mistake of thinking that you did the quizzes, you do well on them, you're ready for the exam, because the exam is on higher levels of Bloom's taxonomy, whereas the quizzes stay on very low levels, right? So we can ask you some very thought-provoking questions on the exam, whereas on the quiz it's just mostly regurgitating things that you read somewhere. Okay. In most cases, the quiz, or actually pretty much all cases should be, the quizzes should be taken up to 3 times, and only the last submission is graded. There are no late quizzes. The reports, the lab quizzes are required elements. Basically, everything that's an examination element is required. And if you do not do them, you do not get credit for the course. The answers will be visible 48 hours or more after the deadline. We like to give ourselves a little bit of time in case there's some emergency and some student couldn't make it to the quiz. But again, it really should be an emergency. We don't make exceptions for things that could have been avoided with better planning and so on. You're allowed to discuss your concepts with your colleagues prior to the quiz, but please don't share the quiz answers. It's like I say, it's part of your exam prep, so it's to your advantage to take cognitive advantage of it. And along these lines, I also ask, please don't give these quiz answers to future students. It's a lot of work to prepare these quizzes because there are a lot of them, and they're really there for you to study, not so much for your grade. Like I say, most of the time the quiz grades are high anyway. So please do me a favor and don't share the quiz with future students, and also don't accept them from past students. We are planning to run a single lab session for all students, and So we'll see how that goes. We've done a lot of preparations, so we think we're ready, and we've got really good TAs, and there are a reasonable number of them. As logins, we support remote logins on bioinfo1.scilab.lab.se, and you're going to be taught to do that from your laptop. So for Windows machines, you can install Linux subsystem for Windows and Ubuntu. So and then like once you have Ubuntu, then you just pop it open, and it's a terminal window that you can just type commands in. Then you can connect to our server by SSH. On the other hand, if you're a Mac user, you just pop open a terminal, like you just in the little, whatever you call it, the little search bar, you type in terminal and it'll pop up. And of course, if you're a Linux user, you probably don't need any explanation. For molecular viewing and other graphics applications, you'll need to install VMD or some similar viewer on your laptop. Actually, the Sarah or the lab TA that's relevant will tell you what software you need. And everything, things like that are always free software if we don't provide it ourselves. Okay, the secret sequence reports. So what we've done, we or more to the point, Sarah McComas has chosen individual protein sequences, one per student, and your job is to identify and name the properties of this protein. And it's not so much about the actual answer, it's more about the process that you go through to find the answer and to apply the various techniques you learn in the lab, and concepts and interpretation and so on. You can discuss this with your colleagues on an intellectual level, but don't ask them to do any of the work for you or give you any of the answers. And so this one does require a full report. This is the only element which requires that sort of full-length report. So it's intended to scale an ambition according to your background and your interests. So we understand that some of you may have very little computational experience prior to this, and in that case, just meeting the minimum requirements is going to be enough. But some of you may have a computer science degree or an engineering background, or who knows, a physics background, and be more comfortable writing code and applying computational methods in general. And in that case, you are very much encouraged to do a little bit more. And the instructors and the TAs are happy to help you in this. Okay. The secret sequence report has to be turned on time. If you are between 1 second and 24 hours late, you lose points. If you're more late than 1 day, then you have to get a new secret sequence and turn it in at the re-exam opportunity. And I don't recommend that. So please turn it on time. Sarah McComas is basically the boss when it comes to the final report. So she's going to provide you with more detailed rules and guidelines. Let's see. I'm not a fan of high stakes exams. As I mentioned earlier, the goal here is for you to work more or less consistent number of hours throughout the course, and not just do nothing through the whole course and then binge study at the very end, because we know that that's not good for long-term retention. So anyway, it's instead of one exam, we have 2 exams, one in the middle of the course and one at the end. And these will be online, on Canvas, and will probably require that Zoom be turned on. And so there'll be open book, open internet essay type questions most likely, but you won't be allowed to discuss it with any other person. Retakes. So here in Sweden, you have right to retake exams, and this is a right that you can exercise on the condition that you have failed both that exam and the overall course. So it applies to all examinations. Anything that's graded is an examination, but usually we're talking about either the partial exams or the final report. The retakes are given 2 to 6 weeks after the exam grades are posted. But we strongly recommend that you take the ordinary exam, even if you think you might not pass. Because later in the year, you're going to forget some of the concepts. You're going to get busy with other courses. The retakes will have new questions that are, frankly, generally not easier than the original exam. They could be. You could get an oral retake, and so you could actually be worse off in the retake than in the original exam. It's not that that's the intent, but that's the effect for a number of reasons. The grades on the retakes, I can tell you, are usually low for that and possibly other reasons. If you get an FX on the course, you can be assigned a project which can bring you up to an E. And so that in Swedish is called komplettering. So that just means that if you failed by a little bit, then you can be assigned an assignment that just brings you back up over the pass line. The discussion sessions, attendance is not enforced, except for, as I said, day one, but it's strongly encouraged. In traditional courses, no student variable is more strongly correlated with grades than attendance. And it's a remarkable correlation. But frankly, I don't know if it applies to distance learning. Anyway, so we encourage it if you have no particular reason not to do it. So all course elements are required. You can't get credit for the course without turning in all assignments and completing both of the exams. So the course has undergone a comprehensive overhaul, actually several overhauls, but probably the biggest one was this year. The registrar has invested significant funds in quality improvement in this course, over 1 million crowns. The course was part of my pedagogical ambassador project in 2018, and so the TAs, the guest speakers, and in particular myself have invested significant time and effort, and we hope you enjoy it and we hope you learn a lot. But please let me and or others, but definitely me, know if things are going too fast or if there's something you don't understand. What we want to do is, like I say, keep you at an effort of about 40 hours per week to the extent possible. And so we want you to succeed. We want you to learn as much as possible, but not. We don't want to push you harder than is actually reasonable. Okay, so plagiarism. This is an unfortunate issue. It has come up a lot more than I would have liked or would have even suspected occurs. But I've started talking to students about this more directly, and I've found that it helps a lot in terms of reducing instances of plagiarism. I think in a lot of cases people just didn't understand what plagiarism is, and maybe in some cases they understood it, but they didn't really appreciate what effect it could have on their lives and on their careers. So so you may have already signed a plagiarism policy form. If not, you should get one soon. So please make an effort to set an example of honesty, because not everyone fully understands the rules. And you can talk to me if you see a problem or a suggestion or have a suggestion for treating it. So you automatically get the benefit of the doubt. I pretty much always assume that anybody I talk to is honest. Anyway, so the definition of plagiarism is that it's copying the work of others, which could be an online source, a print source, your peers, somebody else. And it's plagiarism if the original can be identified from yours with high statistical significance. And so basically that means that if you repeat a technical term that you found somewhere, that's of course not plagiarism. 2 or 3 words strung together, maybe they could have come from anywhere. But if there's some snippet of text, it doesn't even have to be a full sentence, that we can find its original, and we can demonstrate that statistically it's very, very unlikely that you basically sort of came up with it independently, then that's plagiarism. So I want you to understand that this is that your work, everything you write down, has to come from your mind. And so you read these sources, you watch these videos, you talk to people, and all of this became sort of integrated into your brain, and you understood it. And then when you say it, it's you saying it, right? It's not that you came up with the knowledge itself, but or rather, it's not that you came up with the techniques, but the actual processing and the word that you use are yours. So consequences, things that can happen as a result of plagiarism. If you're an academic, a professor or a staff scientist or something, plagiarism will end your career. It's almost certain. I've personally seen people that had some sort of problem with their master's thesis, and maybe they had even started a PhD and then they had the offer withdrawn, right? Plagiarism during the PhD will get you expelled. Plagiarism in the professorship or public post will lead to termination, and most likely change of career completely. So the consequences are dire. And so to me, in your case, it's not so much the possibility that you would face the disciplinary board. It's almost more the indirect consequences, like what people will think of you, what people might say about you. So I very strongly encourage you to be very careful on this point, and I never want to put you in the position where you feel like you have to plagiarize just to get through the course, because like I say, there are things like retakes and so on which can be done. So tell me about it if you feel like you're getting to the point where you're extremely stressed and you don't know what to do, because probably find a solution, but don't go this route of plagiarizing. So grades, your lab reports are worth 10 points or 10%. The pre-lecture quizzes collectively are worth 10%, or I should say discussion quizzes. The secret sequence is 30%, and each of the partial exams is 25%. And here are the cutoffs, and this is trunk, not round. And so that means that if you get, let's say, a 91.9, that's a B. It's not an A. Okay? I mean, you might say that's unfair, but if we start, if we set a rule and then start moving it for specific cases, then it's a slippery slope. Like, we never know how much is enough, is too much moving. So it's just trunk, and that's it. And so the pass line is 60. And if you get between a 55 and 60, then you are eligible for completering, and we'll discuss what that is if you're in that situation. And then if you're below 55, then you failed, and you become eligible for things like retake exams on any exams that you might have failed in addition to the course. All right. So if there are any questions, you're watching this at home and it's not live, but you're welcome to email me even before the discussion starts. And if you've given me enough time, I'll answer. And otherwise, we'll take it up when you arrive at the discussion session. And with that, I'm going to switch over to the content part of this lecture.